Hey guys, John V from PhoneArena here. You're watching our video review of the Sony Xperia Z3v. So it's been a while since we've seen a high-end device from Sony making its way here in the form of a carrier option. It was last year's Sony Xperia Z1s for T-Mobile, but in that time we've seen the Z2 and subsequently the Z3 being announced. But instead of bringing this Z2 here to the US market, Sony decided to forego that handset in favor for a variant of the Z3, which is of course a Verizon exclusive, the Z3v. Well, it certainly has the Z3's name, but the Z3v doesn't share the same identical design as the Z3. Instead, it utilizes the design of the Z2, and interestingly enough, this device, the Z3v, is both thicker, heavier than the Z3 or Z2, which is a shame because you'd think for a variant of the Z3, they've gone with the Z3's design and just made some incremental improvements elsewhere. Despite that, the Z3v is still a gorgeous looking premium smartphone that's solidly constructed. It of course utilizes the same omni-balanced design language of other Xperia smartphones, so it has a similar look and it comes off really well with good choice of materials. And it's also worth noting that it offers an IP68 rating, so you can get protection against dust and water. Well, there's certainly nothing different here with the display in the Z3v. It uses the same one in the Z3 before it. It's a 5.2-inch 1080 by 1920 triluminous display. Essentially, the details are crisp and very sharp. Nothing different about it from the previous screens in the Z2 and Z3. What's noticeably different this time is that the brightness output's not as potent or strong. In fact, it only achieves a mark of 407 nits, which is a far cry from the over 700 nits rating of the Z3's display. So it's still visible, but not as visible as the Z3's display. And it utilizes the same X-Reality mobile engine, so basically that boosts the contrast and even the saturation. So it doesn't necessarily produce the most accurate colors, but the entire package still comes off nicely. It just has a very vibrant look that continues to capture our attention. So if we take a look around the sides of the phone, we have all the usual ports and buttons we'd expect to get. We have the SIM slot right here on the left, as well as the micro USB port to charge its internal battery, 3.5mm headset jack, noise cancellation microphone. On the right, you'll have another flap here for the micro SD card slot, dedicated power button, volume control, and then also a dedicated two-level shutter key. What's gone here though is the spot for the lanyard on the bottom edge. They've taken that out. So the interface is the same exact one found in the Xperia Z3. It's Sony's own Xperia UI, and it has a very modern, crisp, clean look to it. They make good use of a lot of cool animations and transition effects. So it's very pleasant in terms of the visuals here, and it's quite functional. A lot of personalization, of course, with Android 4.4.4 KitKat out of the box here. It has all the same enhancements we've seen from the Xperia skin. So for example, you're going to have the small app suite. So basically it gives us an enhanced multitasking experience, which is nice. We have also the ability to record video of what we're doing on the screen. So instead of a screenshot, we could record video of whatever we're doing. And finally, if you have a PlayStation 4, you could actually link it to it. So you could be playing your games on the go through your Sony Xperia Z3v. Although its design is more akin to the Z2, the Z3v utilizes the same processor that's in the Z3. It's a quad-core 2.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor coupled with a beefy 3 GB of RAM and the Adreno 330 GPU, and of course, it performs swimmingly, very fast, responsive, smooth. Even for 3D gaming, it's going to be highly effective for the occasion. And if you're big into power usage, you won't be disappointed by it. For something being original, the Sony Walkman music player is a delightful treat just because it has some really cool layouts and presentations. Definitely one of the more visually pleasing music players out there. Now, the Xperia Z3v, like the Z3, features dual front-firing speakers, but they're not necessarily the strongest, despite the fact that it produces 72.2 decibels of power. The overall quality still sounds a little bit on the subdued side. It just lacks a strong punch to make it as compelling as something like the HTC One M8. It's an absolute joy for watching videos as well, just because the 5.2-inch display is ideal. And when you add in the X Reality engine, it boosts the contrast and even the saturation, so it gives videos an even more poppy look to them. Well, there's certainly no surprises here with the camera. It's the same one used by the Z3 before it. So that's a 20.7 megapixel autofocus camera with the Exmor RS sensor from Sony. It has an f2.0 aperture lens. You have a single LED flash, and you have up to 4K video recording. And around the front, you have a 2.2 megapixel camera. Heck, even the camera app's identical. Now, we really appreciate that there's a physical shutter key, so we just long press it to access the camera at any time. From here, it's boasting a whole lot of shooting modes and manual controls. So if you choose manual, you'll be able to actually adjust several parameters here, from white balance, exposure, to even ISO. So you get a lot of control. At the same time, you have several neat shooting modes as well. For example, it utilizes all these cool augmented reality modes here, which gives it a different flavor from other services out there. Well, the quality from its 20.7 megapixel camera isn't all that surprising. It takes some very good looking photos, especially outdoors where there's a ton of lighting. You're going to get good details, good natural colors. Under lower lighting conditions, it naturally has a somewhat diminished look. The overall tone is a lot softer, but at least noise is kept to minimum, and the overall look of the images are a little bit brighter. At the same time, it's not bad when it comes to shooting video. It also has support for 4K, so you get more detail with its quality, but the only sore point with video recording quality is that it sometimes exhibits a little bit of an overexposed composition, but it's not really that bad. Sadly though, the phone is a nightmare to use when it comes to call quality. That's because with the earpiece, it just has this awkward and strange suppressed tone, which makes it very difficult to hear our callers, especially in noisy environments. And the same thing is said about its speakerphone quality. It's actually packing the same size battery as the Z3, a 3200 milliamp hour battery to be exact. And the results are pretty good, though technically it's not as long lasting in our battery benchmark tests as the Z2 or Z3. It just falls a little bit shy under 8 hours with our battery benchmark test, and in real world usage, it's able to pull out at least a solid 1 day of normal usage. So what we have here is the Sony Xperia Z3v. Not the Z3v, because as we've seen in our review, it has a lot of characteristics similar to the Z2 as opposed to being the Z3. But it has the notable feature of built-in wireless charging. That's what this Verizon exclusive has to offer. So of course that contributes to its slightly thicker profile. So if you're really gung-ho about picking up the Sony Xperia Z3v, just know you're going to have to shell out $200 with a 2-year contract to get it through Verizon. Now that puts it in line to many of the other flagships in the space right now, like the iPhone 6, the Samsung Galaxy S5, and even the LG G3. But the Z3v just doesn't feel as compelling. And in all fairness, we'd probably recommend waiting for an actual Sony Xperia Z3. So if you guys want to learn more about the Sony Xperia Z3v, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.